Welcome. Now, I'm hoping that everyone can see me here on Facebook, but I've just realized what I'm using is a new app, I haven't used it before, called Stage 10, which is a really awesome app, but I did not realize I can't stream to 2 channels at once on the plan that I'm on, so there you go. So we'll go live on Facebook for the moment, and I'll upload this to YouTube as well if you missed it and couldn't see it on YouTube. So awesome to have you here, guys. So say hi if you want to make a comment, and as I go through, I do want to make this quite interactive. So if there's comments or hellos and everything, that would be great. And if you've got any questions as I'm going through, just let me know, because everyone's questions are great because everyone learns together then. And I'm really looking forward to bringing this group together. So I want to do this quite regularly as we go forward through everything it's coming at us over the coming weeks and months. I think the more of us that can get together can focus on creating a supportive and wonderful community of people who are looking ahead and really working on moving through this with as much grace and resilience and strength as possible. Because there are going to be some incredible experiences that come out of this world event. So this is probably one of those once in a lifetime events that happen, and it's going to be incredible to watch events unfold. And then as we're going through, of course, for many of you, you're on our programs and you're making that switch at the moment over from PAYG, having a job, over to earning your money online, which is of course an incredible place to be right now. A lot of our websites are increasing in traffic, in sales, because everyone's moving online and the whole world is moving that direction. So, but even in that movement, there are challenges, as you guys all know. Mindset challenges and being able to move forward with confidence is really will really help you on that journey. So great to see you here. And so what I wanted to do today is just a bit more of an intro into what PRAVA's about and how it came to develop and what I did to go through my experiences through and what I've done. So, and give you a bit more background and also give you a chance to ask any questions. Today, like I said in the intro, what I want to focus on is one of the elements of PRAVA, which is the power, feeling more powerful, because it is really easy in these kind of times when things are very uncertain. There's a lot of news coming in, there's a lot of negative messaging coming at us at the moment. We want to be able to approach that with a sense of strength and know how to, because there are certain people who face challenges and get stronger. So as I was talking about, there's that bell curve of people so some people and most people get through challenges. For a lot of people, it's very tough and it can feel very overwhelming. For a lot of people, for some people, it is really tough and they find it incredibly challenging. And there's a small group of people who really find it very, very challenging to move through challenge. Then there's, of course, the other end of the curve with people who embrace challenge, who grow from it, who get stronger from it. So ideally, we want to be part of that group of those people who are becoming stronger and more resilient through whatever challenges are coming at you at the moment. So that might be many and varied, and I know it's going to be a bit of a roller coaster ride. And every one of us is going to know someone who's going to be affected by what's happening in the world at the moment, whether it's them losing a job or losing income sources, whether it's health and actually being affected by the virus or by other health challenges, or whether it's the mental health challenges that you face when you go through these times of uncertainty and things are going to be different. So we are going to have a different world after this. So we all need to modify and adapt to that and create a mindset that, if you can create that mindset that can get you through those challenges, then you can set yourself up for having, even in the midst of chaos, having moments of joy and moments of happiness and moments of peace and calm. And that's the skill that I learned on my journey. Now, just to give you a bit of background, so if you don't know me, I'm actually a zoologist. So I'm trained, I did an honours degree in science in zoology. So my background is animal behaviour and animal physiology and evolution and genetics and all those kind of things. I looked at in my study how we came to be, how nature comes to be, and I was always absolutely fascinated by that. And so that's the journey, that's the background I come from. And so when two or a bit more years ago, I had a bad mountain accident on my bike, and I actually came off in a race, and I hit the ground at 40 k's an hour and did serious injury to my neck. But it was that moment, and here's where we get into the challenge. I think every one of us has faced challenges in our life. It was at that moment I realized that, you know, I'm a pretty type A person. I do a lot of stuff. I'm always, maybe you're like that too. And a lot of the people who come on our courses, I know, are like that. We're very active. We're very into things. We're learning stuff all the time. We're doing things. We're action takers. We want everyone to be happy. We're always, you know, looking after everyone else as well. And so we're very busy people generally. And sometimes you don't realize how busy until you've been through a moment where you're not able to be busy anymore, because you've basically come to a point, maybe it's through an accident or a trauma or an event like that, or maybe it just built up over time, where suddenly you can't do all the things that you thought you were able to do, or that you think you should be able to do. And that may happen in this coming few weeks and months. There might be a time where you find you can't do the things that you normally would be able to do or want to do, and for many different reasons. And that's very, very challenging to someone who's a high performer and high achiever, wants to get things done and create things in their life. It can be really, really frustrating. You can find you get really angry or really irritable. You might find you get anxious and worried and overthinking and can't get out of your head. All those things come into play when you're suddenly in a position where you can't do these things that you used to do. And it's interesting, when I hit that was incredibly challenging. And I know from experience and from talking to lots of you that that's a very, very common experience in our society now. The number of people who've had burnout, I mean, tell me who's had burnout and gone through that process. It's awful. It's the most awful experience, but it's one of those times when you hit with those great challenges where you have a choice, where you can decide, and this is what we're going to face in these coming weeks. We're going to decide whether we're going to stand up and, well, I won't say fight, but stand up and face it, or whether we're going to run away and try and hide. So we really do have that choice now, and we're at that crossroads where we can choose one or the other. Now, what makes it difficult is sometimes your brain isn't cooperating. It's not helping you make that choice because it's on a different program altogether. So what I want to do is just first of all do a quick explanation of how your brain works, and then relate that to what we can be doing and understanding what's happening there. And that gives us a good way of understanding why certain techniques work, why all these things work. Because when I went through this, I did a lot of research and a lot of, so literature reviews is basically what you call it in the scientific world, where I read a lot of papers, a lot of studies, a lot of books, a lot of researchers about what the latest findings were in psychology and neurobiology and neuroscience and the development of your brain and all those kind of how all the chemical systems work, how the neurological systems work. And it's really fascinating stuff. I don't know if you're a bit sciencey and geeky like me, but I found that really good way to understand and feel power over what was happening and be able to actually do things in my life in order to I won't say take back control, because we never really have control over stuff, but feel like I had power again. And power is something that's incredibly important. One of so the name PRAVA is actually an acronym. It stands for 5 things. And the first thing is power, feeling powerful. And that's really important as we go into these uncertain times. It's really easy to allow yourself to be caught up in, especially with the media and everything, feeding all these messages at us, to be caught up in that and really lose a lot of power, feel at the mercy of the world, of the government, of this virus, of everything that's happening. And we don't want to get into that headspace right now. We want to retain our feeling of power, that we feel like we have some control and that we can do things about what's happening and make a difference to the outcomes that we're going to encounter. So what's really happening, I'll bring over my screen. Hopefully that's going to work. If there's comments or hellos and everything Sorry, we just had my phone there, so I was trying to see the comments. That's the one thing about this app. I can't see how you can see the comments, which is really frustrating. So I'm going to have to figure that out and turn down my volume, and hopefully I can see. Fantastic. Yes, brilliant. Well, now at least I can see my comments on the phone. So great to see you here, guys. So let's get geeky. Let's have a look at your brain, because isn't it beautiful? So I'm just going to, now this is a good question. All right, there we go. Now I get it. There's our brain. Okay, playing with this new thing. I'll make it so that I'm still there. There we go. So this is your brain, and I absolutely loved this. When I was studying this, and I actually did a year of osteopathy as well, so I did do a lot of human anatomy as well. And it is so fascinating to look at the brain and how it developed. And if you can see that coloured in bit down the bottom, at the base of your brain, you know how we always talk about there's our subconscious brain and our conscious brain. And humans are one of those rare species. We're lucky enough to have developed this massive big bit over the top of our brain, the cortex, which is our conscious, which holds a lot of our conscious kind of thought ability, our ability to process information. So most animals and most beings on the planet, what they've evolved is a system so that if there's something going wrong, if something's endangering that animal, they have a function in their brain to analyze that information and say, hey, wow, this is bad, let's get out of here, we got to run or we got to fight. And all that hardware, all that stuff is in that coloured area of the brain. You can see there, the base area. And that's like our unconscious brain. We don't think about any of those reactions. And the little fella that we want to pay most attention to is this little dude, that little green blob, which is called the amygdala. And that's kind of like our gateway. And all the signals that come into our brain are kind of filtered by the amygdala. And actually, information that's coming into your brain can actually bypass everything else and go straight through your amygdala to your hypothalamus and the little area of your brain which controls that fight or flight. Do I need to do something about what's happening? Am I safe or am I not safe? And it's really fascinating to study this little fella, because the problem is it can get a little bit out of control. We do have some conscious control now over our reactions and our responses, but sometimes that little fella is going to go off without us wanting it to, without us even knowing that it's happened. So have you ever felt that feeling? Have you ever had where you feel like something's not right? Suddenly you feel a bit on edge, a bit worried about something, you're feeling tense and you have no idea why. And what's probably happened is some signal, maybe a smell, maybe something in the corner of your vision, maybe a thought, it can be triggered by all those things, has been filtered through your amygdala and your brain has said, oh, we're not safe. And it's set off a system of it's like a cascade of events in your body that has put your body just on high alert. You might not even realize it's happened, because sometimes Miggy, we nickname it Miggy. I call it Miggy throughout my process and everything that I did. I needed to give this thing a nickname, and I actually have deep conversations with Miggy, because sometimes Miggy is completely irrational. So we have to train it. Sometimes Miggy learns lessons that aren't actually real, which, and again, going into times like we're going into now in the world, we can get a bit, Miggy can get a bit tricked, because with all the things that are happening in the media, all that, all that music, all that dramatic events, all that reporting of specific things like specific deaths, all these stories that are telling our deep brain, hey, the world is not safe right now. And unfortunately, when Miggy's in that sort of tense, hyper-aware state, it can lay down memories and lay down pathways that normally wouldn't have been laid down as things that you should be worried about. And so what we've got to do is we've got to be protective of our mindset right now. It is really, really important, so that we don't close down and start getting into that fear and overwhelm too much. Now, I do want to say it is okay to feel those emotions. It is totally natural. It's human, and we do want to feel like you should never want to shut down your emotions. Our life is a wave. It's not a smooth ride, and that's part of the chemistry and biology of your brain and how it works. So we kind of got to embrace that. We've got to say, okay, well, yes, sometimes I'm going to feel rubbish. I'm going to feel overwhelmed. I'm going to feel sad. I'm going to feel stressed. I'm going to feel tense. And we actually have to be okay with that at some level, that we are going to ride. There's going to be waves. But we're going to talk about, this is another element of being powerful, is understanding that they are waves, that we will go up and down, that things will change over time. So anyway, going back to Miggy. So here's our little Miggy sitting there, and here it is filtering everything that's coming in through our brains and deciding, okay, are we safe or are we not safe? And if we're not safe, we need to be prepared. And it's getting yourself ready. Now, there's two responses that you can have from that kind of preparedness state, like we've been saying. And again, I like to think of it like a little puppy. So response number one is that flight, is feeling overwhelmed, frightened, anxious, not sleeping at night, just constantly thinking and worrying thoughts, just living in the future, or like always ruminating about the past or living in the future. So what's really important about this is just recognizing we don't need to fix this right now. It's okay. You can feel these emotions, but just recognizing that this is probably Miggy clicking off a set of hormonal and chemical and neurological responses in your body that are making you feel this way. So the most important thing to realize is you're not out of control in that it's a natural process, and it will move, you will move through it, and it's okay. So it's okay to feel these feelings of worry and fear and anxiety and overwhelm, because that's a natural human process. The other way that we could go, so you might be feeling actually fine. You might not be feeling the worry and the overwhelm at this point, whether that's in your business journey at the moment or in the sort of world journey of the fact that we have a virus and that we're locking down all these countries and the economy is really going to struggle for the next few months. The other response that you can have is anger. So you might actually feel you flip between these two. So you might see that you, one day you might feel absolutely overwhelmed and terrible in that way. The next day you might feel angry or irritable. You might find you snapping at people. And certainly, I mean, oh my goodness, I think who's got kids at home at the moment? Our kids are wonderful. They're just amazing. But it is, and we work from home already, so I'm used to this, but having them actually trying to do schoolwork at home while we're also doing things, and it's pretty challenging. And I've been speaking to quite a few mums and dads, and oh man, it's challenging, isn't it? At the moment. And I do really feel for all the parents out there having to now juggle not only the stress of everything that's happening and worries about what's going to happen in the future, but also trying to manage kids at home as well. So you might find, and it's perfectly okay if you also flick to the anger response. Just know in your mind, the important knowledge is really, really important. And knowing that this is because of a process. It's because your brain has assessed that you're not safe. It's feeling like you're not safe at the moment, and it's triggering this to try and protect you, to try and respond to this. And it might be that anger response. You might have seen it in animals too, the snappiness, the anger, the irritability, it can take a form of overwhelm and aggression. What else could you have? Defensiveness too, like feeling really defensive, or just feeling, either one of these can relate to procrastination too, because you're feeling unsure and unsafe. Not sure what actions to take. And going forward into this kind of situation that we're going into, being able to step back and be a little bit, have some perspective and be able to be proactive will be very, very empowering for you. So what's important here is just to understand that, yes, I'm going to have these responses. It's okay. And hopefully, again, with the people around you as well, having them understand that we're all going to go, being understanding of them and understanding, hey, my spouse might be feeling really, really stressed at the moment. Their amygdala might be just firing like crazy, and perhaps they snapped at me, or they did this, or they're irritating me because they're feeling this as well. They're on edge. And so this is really very much a time for compassion as well, and for understanding and allowing other people to go through those emotions as well as the ones that we're going through, and realizing that all our brains, this is the other thing, so if you missed the beginning, I'm a zoologist, so I studied animal physiology and behavior and genetics and development and all those kind of things, and understanding that humans we're very, very tribal. We look to the people around us for signals about what's going on in our world, and am I safe, and what's happening, and should I be worried or should I feel okay? And so it's important to understand that too, that we're being influenced by the people around us as well. And that's one of the A's of PRAVA is association, who you're associating with. And that's why I think this is so important. It's so wonderful to see you all here, because it's really important to associate with people who are feeling resilient, who are understanding, who are okay with the place you're at the moment, and helping you through this process, and understanding that, yes, you're going to have your ups and you're going to have your downs, you're going to have your strong moments and you're going to have your weak moments. And I think having this supportive community, and this is what we've always wanted to create for champions and for you guys, is that supportive community around you as well, people you can connect with. So that's why I want to do this ongoing. So we'll talk about that in a minute. So we'll go for about half an hour. What time are we at? And then I want to do this again, because I think this is so important. I think this can be such an empowering thing for you. If you can connect with us each week or every few days, then it's going to help you move through this with much more grace and ease and strength. So yes, all right. So yeah, important lesson number one is recognizing that, yes, we're all going to go through these emotions, and that everyone's brain is going to be triggering. So just be a little bit understanding that people might do silly things. They might rush to the supermarket and buy all the toilet paper. Oh, there you go. That's Miggy triggering. You seeing that response of, oh my goodness, there's no toilet paper. I should have toilet paper. So everyone suddenly goes and gets toilet paper. And that's that herd mentality. And yes, we need to be aware of why that's happening. Oops, click the right thing there. So really, what's happening is it's like we're going on a journey, and Miggy is like this little puppy, your amygdala is like this little puppy or little dog, and it's looking to you, your conscious brain, for the confirmation of what it's doing. Is it right or not? And so this is really important to understand as well. Luckily, as humans, we have the ability to override the responses that our amygdala and our stress centers, we actually have the ability to consciously override those responses. But that's something you need to learn. If you've never done it before, you might find that it's quite difficult. You might not have even realized that what's going on. And so this is what I learned when I was at the height. I went through this phase after my accident where I had incredible anxiety, and my whole body had basically shut down. My amygdala had pretty much got to a point where it said, everything's a threat, you're unsafe. I had constant anxious thoughts. I was having all-night panic attacks. I could be sitting there at the table with my heart absolutely racing, like I was being attacked by someone, and I was literally just sitting at the breakfast table. My brain had switched over to completely irrational, and it was a process for me to bring that logical mind and reprogram my amygdala to realize that actually, no, you're not responding in a way that I want you to, like that this is over response. So it takes a little bit of training, but through a combination of all these different factors, you can gradually retrain that response and create new pathways. And so your Miggy is like your little puppy, your little dog by your side, or your cat if you're a cat person. And maybe Miggy's a little bit more independent. You could probably think of it more like a cat. Just saying, no, I'm not doing that. But no, let's think of it like a little dog or a little pet next to you. Could be like a horse. Miggy's are very much like horses too, very flighty sometimes. But we need to train her or train him to understand what's an appropriate response and what's not an appropriate response. And we can do that using various techniques and by understanding how our thought processes all work. So let's go on the journey. Let's quickly I want to go through a bit of power today so that you can take a bit of a step back as we go into this next phase of whatever the world's going into and approach it with a sense of power. So first of all, just a quick definition of power. I don't mean that we have like power like a world leader or something like that. I mean power in that we have the ability to do something about whatever is in our world. We have the ability to choose how we think or feel about what's happening in our world. We have the ability to influence the outcomes of what's happening. Even if it's on a very small level, that's fine. We don't have to influence the whole world. We just want to influence our world, and that's enough to give us a sense of power and confidence and feeling like we can approach this next phase of whatever the world is with a sense of resilience and strength. So in order to do that, I just want to talk about power in that also. Power is not control. And I think for us type A people, we're very excited about we really want to have control of everything. I know I do it. I'm always looking ahead. I'm always thinking, okay, I need to organize this, I need to organize that. I'm always controlling my world, and I tend to, if I'm not careful, try and control the people around me as well and what they're doing and what I think they should do. And we've got to be very careful as type A's to not be trying to control everything and everyone, because we actually never truly have control. And that's probably the biggest lesson I learned going through that process of burnout and overwhelm and that accident, is that I don't have control. And at some point I need to accept that I can't always make things exactly as I want them to. And that's why one of the A's in PRAVA is acceptance, being able to accept that things are as they are, but then still having the deep belief and knowledge that I can do something to change this situation or influence this situation. So we can have power over our thoughts, not necessarily control. We've got to give up that idea that we have to have control. So what I want to share with you today is that certain people who are resilient and strong and who are at that top end of that bell curve, who really take on challenges and actually grow from them and become better people from those challenges, they have a certain way of thinking, and we can actually model that way of thinking. And that's something I did every day in my recovery. I was modeling, I was guiding my thought processes to model these successful people. And I want to show you the three main things that these people do and the way they think, so that you can start modeling those thought patterns as well. So the first, it's a thinking style. And the first element of that thinking style is personal, like how personally you take things. So, and how you attribute things that happen in your world. So that first thing, in terms of good events, a powerful thinking style attributes good stuff to yourself, to you. And a lot of us get into a bad habit of attributing good stuff to other forces, like saying that, the team did it. Oh no, it wasn't me. It was the team. It wouldn't have been done if it hadn't been the team. Oh no, don't worry. It's not me. It's the team, or it's my husband, or it's my family, or it's the world. It was a good day, or it was an easy test, or that. You've got to be careful about attributing the good things that happen in your life and the things that you do well. You need to be able to say, hey, I did that. I'm responsible for that good outcome. Has anyone here experienced that? Who attributes to other people? Who tends to say, oh, no, it wasn't me. It was they did it. I didn't have that much to do with it, and sort of pass on that credit to other people or other things. Oh, it was just an easy test, and it wasn't that good, or things like that. And if you find that you do that you're taking away your power every time you do that. You're just slightly diminishing your power. And so it's really important for you, especially at this moment in time, in this history, to really start recognizing if you're doing that and making sure that you just quickly correct yourself. Just say, hey, no, actually, I did that. Do be careful of it, even saying attributing good things to the universe or to God or to, and I mean, obviously they may have some part in it, but make sure you attribute and you recognize that you had a part in anything good that happens in your life, in your relationships, in anything. Make sure you recognize yourself as a contributing factor to that good thing. So whatever happens, if you have a wonderful afternoon, say, wow, I did that well. I had a good laugh then. Whatever it is, make sure, so I've got a lot of you saying, yep, and that's the Australian way too. We tend to, tall poppy syndrome. So really important. Just a quick, now that's a really simple thing that you can start doing straight away. Just recognize if you're doing that and attribute those things to yourself. Now the opposite is also true. For the bad events that happen in your life, make sure you don't play the blame game, like the shame game. So if something negative were to happen in your life, a lot of us tend to take too much responsibility. We believe that it's all our fault, that we contributed it, that it was our fault, we hurt their feelings, or what we said impacted them so much, or whatever events that are happening in your life. Just be aware, just watch yourself and start watching if negative things happen, if you do badly at something, if someone says no to you on a sale or something, or if you lose your job, if the business shuts down and you're losing your job, then you need to be really careful you don't attribute that to you. Do not allow yourself to start thinking that it's your personal failure. You need to remember that there are incredible events going on and extenuating circumstances in the world right now. So make sure you attribute to acknowledge that bad things aren't all your fault. There are other contributing factors that that contributed to whatever it is that's happening. And if you find you do that a lot, make sure you list out, make sure you actually in your mind, if you're thinking, getting into a negative thought pattern, think, okay, well, what else contributed to that? Well, we've got a world virus going on. We've got the business wasn't very stable, perhaps in the first place, if I'm losing my job, or maybe I didn't want that job anyway, I don't know. But think about the other factors that contributed it, not your contributing factors. So that's see how that's just a little shift in the way that you're processing. What that's doing is making your amygdala, Miggy, think, okay, righto, it's not my fault. I have some level of power over this, and it's okay. I can do something about it. And that's the other important part of this kind of thinking style, that personal thinking style. Believing in yourself, knowing that there's small things, even the little things that I do, make a difference to my outcomes. And so just start recognizing that in yourself. So that's technique number one, is to recognize those thoughts. Am I blaming myself, and am I taking credit, giving myself credit for the good stuff in my life? The second thought process that comes into play is this sort of factor of how will this affect other areas of my life? So a lot of the time, especially now, let's take the example of it's called pervasiveness. So when something bad happens in one area of your life, does that mean that it affects all the other areas of your life? And so we've got a lot of negative things going on in the world at the moment, but what we've got to remember is we've got to force, especially if we get caught in the thinking of worrying about what's happening, looking at all those stats and hearing all those stories, we need to think about immediately, just catch yourself and think about the areas of your life this is not affecting. So you still love your kids, you still in love with your partner, you still can go out, you can go and look at these beautiful days that we're having, these beautiful weather. There's still abundant food. So you need to remember to look at the other areas of your life and make sure that you're recognizing that what's happening here is not necessarily affecting everything else in your life, because that's where we get into that catastrophic thinking where it just escalates, and that's where you get into overwhelm as well. So if we can catch those little thought processes where we just trigger over and immediately think, well, okay, what's an area of my life this is not affecting, and just concentrate on that. Think about those things that it's not affecting. And the opposite is also true. Powerful thinking and the pervasiveness, remember the good things and think about your superpowers. So what are the good things? A resilient thinker, when they encounter things and when they do something well, they think instead. So let me give you an example. If you did really well on a test, a resilient thinker generalizes that. They say, oh man, I'm smart. I did well on that test. I'm really smart. So if you can take those good things you're at, think of your superpowers and think about how they extend across the other areas of your life. So maybe I don't know, maybe you're a great communicator, and think about, okay, well, I'm really good at communication. How's that going to help me going forward in whatever happens over the coming months and years? How is that that superpower? How can I extend that to affect other areas of my life so I get a positive outcome from other areas of my life? So think about what your superpower is. What are the things you're really good at, and how can that extend across other areas of your life? And then the third thing you can think about, and this is where you get dancing, this is about resilient people think in terms of good events. They think good stuff there's going to be more of it. So when good stuff happens, there'll always be more. And so once you start dancing, then you're going to keep dancing. And you look for those good elements of your life, and you believe in the fact that they are going to stay there. So at a deep level, we believe that there's going to be enough food. No matter what happens, there's going to be enough food. There's going to be beautiful weather. There's going to be, and no matter what situation you're in your world at the moment, looking forward, thinking about the good things that are going to remain in your life no matter what happens. And then the opposite as well as true. The bad things, the stuff, the challenges that we are going to face, they are going to change. And it comes back to that idea that life is in waves. And this is interesting when I study nature, that is what nature is about. The only constant in life is change. And I absolutely 100% guarantee that the situation as it is right now will change. And it may get worse and it may get better. And it may get worse and it may get better. And it will, actually, I should say, it will get better. Humans and nature are incredibly resilient. It is amazing how we have a deep ability to survive and to thrive. And I think we're programmed towards that, and we just got to remember that. And so remembering always that no matter what's happening, it will pass. And going back to that personal, small things, every small thing that you can do will affect your outcome in the long term. And that's what I needed to do when I was very, very ill. There was actually a moment there where I was misdiagnosed by a doctor who said I was going to be like that for the rest of my life. And this was at the time when I couldn't walk, I was in constant panic attacks, I was basically a mess. And here this doctor said to me, oh no, that's not going to get better. And that was really, really hard to kind of overcome in a mental sense. And this is why I know this is so powerful, because this is the techniques that I was using, because I had to focus on the idea that no, I am powerful enough to do something about, and every little thing. I had 7 things that I did every day that even on my most rubbish days, even if I didn't feel like doing it, I would still do it. And I would, even if it didn't make me feel better, I would still do it. And gradually over time, it changed. My situation changed and got better and got better and got better. And I think that's the key to think about going forward when we're going into any challenge, is to know that every little thing that you do, just be consistent, and it will change. It will improve your situation. So just even little consistent things like changing now, recognizing, hey, wow, okay, that's my amygdala going off. Now I'm going to actually look at this from the point of view of, all right, well, how's my brain thinking right now? And can I actually override that? I might be feeling really rubbish, but at least I understand it's going to pass, because eventually the chemicals go, the neurological systems can't close down again, so it will pass. In fact, they've shown an emotion like that, like all that boom, only lasts 90 seconds. So if you can ride it out for 90 seconds and guide your thoughts in a positive way through that 90 seconds, every time you do that, you will be creating new pathways in your brain. It's like, think of it like these tracks in the snow. Every time, neurons are literally just electrical signals running through cells and connecting with other cells. All they are is yes or no's. And what you can do by changing those little thought processes that you're having is you can change what used to be a yes to a no, or what used to be a no to a yes. And you can change those, sorry, I'm pointing over there to my screen, you can change those pathways, and that's really, really exciting. All the latest neurological research has shown that the brain can change. The brain can do phenomenal development and change, from people people with incredible brain damage. Basically, the brain can bypass all sorts of things and create new connections. And so you need to believe in the ability of your brain to change the way you're thinking. And that was probably the most important and most exciting thing that I learned in my journey, was the incredible plasticity of our brains, and have a deep foundational belief in the fact that your brain can change and you can guide it to do that. So that's our goal for PRAVA. And over the coming weeks, what I want to do is help you gradually be changing those pathways. And whether it's little things like this, where you need a bit of knowledge and a bit of understanding, and then just even being able to catch yourself and understanding what's going on, through to a whole lot of techniques. So interestingly, and this is what I love too, all the techniques that you would hear about from spiritual guidance, from religious guidance, from NLP, from all these things that used to be fringe medicine. They're actually realizing now the reason they work is because you can change your brain, and you can change it by using your conscious mind to change the situation, to override those deep thought processes and those deep reactions, and actually create a new pathway for yourself. And I am living proof of that. So I've come from really being a melted down mess to being, I believe, much stronger and more capable of handling challenges than I ever was before. So that's exciting, and that's hopefully where we can go together. I'll leave you with that. So over the next coming days, just start watching your thoughts, catching your thoughts. Are you thinking powerfully? And one of the most important things to remember is that and this is part of the an acceptance of PRAVA, is you need to be compassionate. You need to really be okay with the fact that you are going to feel different emotions and you won't always get it right. And that's completely okay, because we're talking about an organic system here. It's not necessarily going to change with the flick of a switch. What we're going to do is just reprogram it over time so that it has different thoughts and processes. One day you're going to look back and just go, oh my gosh, I can't believe I used to think like that. And now you will automatically and naturally think in a totally different way. So, but the foundation of your power, it truly is compassion, and being really, really compassionate with yourself, just being very forgiving with yourself and okay with whatever's going on, and also being compassionate with those around you, understanding that they're having reactions because of that triggering of Miggy. And if you don't understand that it's there, it can be quite hard to control and to understand and do something different. So there you go. So go out into the world and start thinking, start watching your thinking. See how start attributing it to yourself, saying, hey, I can do stuff, and recognizing what you can do. Find your superpower and see how can you apply that to all the other areas of your life, and get dancing. Find the good things that are happening in your world right now. Even in the midst of any chaos, you can always find beautiful things, lovely things, wonderful things to focus on. So I hope you've enjoyed the first PRAVA live stream. I'll go back onto here. Here we go. There we go. Hopefully I can fix that. There we go. Yes, thank you for joining me on the first PRAVA live stream. And what I'd like to do is do this regularly. I'm thinking Tuesdays and Thursdays at this time at 10 a.m. And now we're going to be back onto the same time zone soon. Yay, Queensland will be back on the same time zone. And thank you, Ron. I have recovered well, and it was an incredible journey. And I believe that what I have learned and what I can put together, and I've taken now a group of our current champions through this process, and some of the changes and developments that these guys have made have just been incredible, and it's just so inspiring and wonderful to see how their minds have changed and how they've grown their responses and their resilience and just their overall view of an outlook of life. So I think that's really, really important. Awesome, fantastic. Oh, thank you so much, guys. And so what I'll do is I'll let you guys all know. We'll go. So what you can do, if you click subscribe on the page, you'll get notified of, or follow, sorry, or subscribe to the live feed. You'll get notified when I do go live. So let's go for 10 a.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And so then we will get together. And again, it's nice to see us all here. It's nice to have that interaction. It's so wonderful to see you. And I really enjoy having this group of such supportive, and that's what we've always loved, especially about our champions and our people on our courses. You're all amazing people. You all want to make things happen in your world, and you want to change things and make, create new things in your life. You have big goals, you have visions. and you're incredibly inspiring people to be around. So if I can help you do that and navigate your way through this next time in our history and make this a growth phase for you as well, where you come out absolutely rocking, then that would be fantastic. So thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you on Tuesday at 10. Okay, see you guys.